Have you ever heard of a scientific experiment so unethical it was nicknamed the monster study? Buckle up, because this story is a chilling look into the dark side of research, and it all began in 1939. Picture this: the University of Iowa, a place of learning and progress. A respected psychologist, Dr. Wendell Johnson, launches a secret experiment. The official goal? To understand the causes of stuttering. A noble cause, right? But the path he chose was anything but. His subjects were 22 innocent children from a local orphanage. Think about that for a moment. Children who already had no family, no one to advocate for them, were about to become unwitting participants in a cruel psychological game. The researchers divided these kids into two groups. Half of them, some of whom already had minor speech impediments, were praised. They were told their speech was perfectly fine, encouraging and positive. But the other half, that's where the story takes its darkest turn. This group consisted of children who spoke perfectly normally. They had no speech issues whatsoever. Yet the researchers, led by one of Dr. Johnson's graduate students, began a relentless campaign of negative conditioning. They told these children they were stutterers. Every sentence, every word was scrutinized. They were criticized, belittled, and corrected for mistakes they weren't even making. Imagine being a small child and an adult in a position of authority tells you day after day that you are broken, that something is fundamentally wrong with the way you speak. The effect was devastating and immediate. The children who had once been cheerful and talkative began to change. They grew anxious and self-conscious. They started to hesitate before speaking. Their confidence shattered. Some developed the very stuttering behaviors the experiment was supposedly studying. They became withdrawn, refusing to speak in class or answer questions. Some reportedly stopped talking almost completely. They had been perfectly healthy, and a scientific study convinced them they were flawed, inflicting deep psychological scars that would last a lifetime. So, what groundbreaking discovery came from this horrific experiment? Nothing. The results were so ethically compromised and the damage so severe that the findings were never officially published. The study was buried, hidden away from public view for decades. The children, the victims of this quest for knowledge, were left to deal with the consequences alone. Their trauma was a secret, their voices silenced first by the experiment, and then by history itself. It wasn't until over 60 years later, in the early 2000s, that investigative journalists finally uncovered the truth. The story of the monster study was brought into the light, shocking the world. The University of Iowa was forced to confront its past and eventually issued a formal public apology, acknowledging the profound ethical violations. But an apology couldn't undo the decades of pain. The state of Iowa later agreed to a financial settlement with some of the surviving orphans. Yet, no one was ever criminally prosecuted for what they did to those children. The monster study serves as a powerful and haunting reminder of a critical lesson. The pursuit of knowledge can never justify the loss of humanity. It forces us to ask a difficult question: what is the true cost of scientific discovery? The story proves that sometimes the most terrifying monsters aren't hiding in the shadows. They're the ones wearing lab coats and holding clipboards, all in the name of science. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as compelling as I did, please hit that like button. And subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating and sometimes unsettling parts of our history. See you in the next video.